Hey folks, I just wanted to give you some extra videos with proofs. The more that you watch and the more that you try, the better you're going to be at this. That's all there is to it. So this one is not too complicated, so let's get right to it. So we're given that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 in this diagram, and we would need to prove that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. So let's see, where do we start? A lot of times that's the most tricky thing for most people. Of course, one easy thing to do is just write what's given, so I'm going to. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, that's given. Big old G. Now, the next step is always a little trickier, so let's see what we can do. Here we go. Let's see, I want to work my way to prove that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. So, I know that angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent, and I want to relate 2 and 4. And I can see that 1 is related to 2, and I can see 3 is related to 4, so I'm going to put those in there. Certainly angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, according to the diagram. These guys are vertical angles. And, there are definitely different ways that we could do as another step. We could also say that 3 and 4 are related by vertical angles, or we could go ahead and just include it in this step with that reason. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 4, and again, because of vertical angles. Don't really have to write this twice, but just to reinforce that that's all together. Now, I don't care if you write it out as separate steps, just as long as your steps make sense and they're legal. So here we go. 3. Let's see here. Now that we have all that, we can begin to maybe use some substitution to put everything together. For example, we know that angle 1 is congruent to 3, and we know angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Well, that means that I could replace angle 1 here with angle 2, because they're the same. So that means that angle 2 could be said to be congruent to angle 3. Yay! And that we can just say by substitution. And then 4, we could say that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4, because angle 2 is congruent to 3, and angle 3 is congruent to 4. So we could say I think we could just go right for it. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Now again, one could say that this is substitution, but it kind of looks to me a little bit more like transitive property. I'm saying that angle 2 is congruent to this, and that this is congruent to that, and finally deducing that deductive reasoning. I am deducing that angle 2 is then congruent to 4. I'm going to give this a transitive. It really feels a lot more like transitive than substitution. And there you go. So quick little 2-column proof, and we'll do as many of these as we can. Oh, make sure that you're writing this stuff down on the scaffolded notes. Just print them out and you can just fill in the blanks.